Alana Jaylo,
Rick Hammond. Hello.
you just got out of the shower,
I did. I feel very, very nice and fresh.
came into the bedroom, and you were alone for a couple minutes.
I was.
What were you doing?
Putting on some essential oils. I had some lavender oil and melaleuca oil, which works just like tea tree oil. It smells just like it too. It's really good. And that's what I was doing.
Ooh.
And listening to good music on my liked and most played playlist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I was listening to BBC Six, as I usually do on Saturday morning, when you're in the shower, and they're playing some new music by Aloe Parks.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, I think she has an album coming out in a week or so.
I don't think I've heard of this lady.
We're going to have to listen to her. She's pretty good. They play here a fair amount on that station.
What's her name?
Aloe Parks.
Okay.
Yes. I also found out some other news, babes.
What's that?
Larry King died.
Oh, seriously?
Yep, of
wow.
complications from COVID.
Well, wow. Well, I mean, that is very sad. But I knew it wasn't too long before he was going to go. How old was he?
87.
Wow. Yeah, close to 90.
He made a lot of money and interviewed tons of people.
He left behind a wife and a few kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
That's
sad.
Yeah.
Did he just die today?
It was either today or last night. They just said it when they do the news breaks, and that's where I heard it.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, he was very close to 90.
Give me any thoughts you have of watching him as a small child.
I didn't watch him very often, but I've heard clips of his show. I watched a little bit of some things on it, but I didn't really watch his show a lot. So I don't really have a lot to comment, but I knew I knew of him. I've heard things on him. It saddens me that he has died, even though I didn't really listen to him much. You know?
I am not going to tell you that he was my all-time favorite interviewer, but
yeah,
he definitely, on occasion, would ask some good questions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It is sad. I wonder if his show is going to go on, or if they're going to put it in syndication, or if someone's going to take over and call it something else. Because the Larry King Live show is not going to be the same anymore.
The one that he did for, was it RT?
I don't know.
Because I know that he stopped working for CNN about 10 years ago.
I had no idea.
Really?
I thought he was still doing that, but I guess I was wrong.
No, so they replaced him with Piers Morgan.
Right, yes. Piers Morgan Live, I believe it's called. But I don't even think he's working for them anymore.
No, I have mixed feelings about him. But in any event,
yeah,
I also have mixed feelings about King.
I have some mixed feelings about Piers too. Because he could be brutal at times, but he had some, when he had interviews, he did say some interesting things about what he thought in the political world. So
I didn't really watch his show, but I'm basing my feelings on him based on interviews I've seen. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that he used to work for, I believe he was associated with tabloid journalism in England.
Piers Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about each of those two guys, but I heard more about Larry King.
It might be time to do some research, babes.
Okay.
You to get familiar with them.
I don't really want to, though.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I will, if I'm bored or something, but I don't really have a lot of interest in those guys.
I know you're not supposed to say this now after the whole Me Too movement.
Yeah.
But I always thought that Charlie Rose was a much better interviewer than Larry King.
Yeah, because I heard about Charlie Rose, but I never watched him at all.
I watched the show a lot.
Yeah.
I think that his show is really good back in the day.
Yeah. I don't think it's wrong to talk about that. I think it's important because I know it came out like a couple years ago about Charlie Rose. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
His website is still up, and you can watch full episodes of his interviews, Charlie Rose.
Because he was interviewing since the 80s, right?
He was, but I'm talking about his PBS show.
Yeah, I understand that.
I wonder what's going to happen when the website goes away. How we can archive his episodes, because there's so many good episodes.
Yeah. It's just so interesting because Charlie Rose, like I didn't know much about Charlie Rose at all until this whole thing happened, and I was really surprised to hear about Matt Lauer, because I used to watch NBC a little bit. Sometimes I watched it in the mornings. I used to watch Where in the World is Matt Lauer? It was very disheartening to me to hear about that.
I really don't care about him. But Charlie Rose I've been watching since 1994. It was that summer. I was up late. I tuned into his program, and he had on Kirk Douglas,
wow,
who was talking about some helicopter crash that he had survived a couple of years earlier.
Wow.
And he was promoting a book. This was about a year before his stroke.
Oh, wow.
And then I just remember starting to slowly watch his show and get into it. Yeah. Good show. Good show.
Wow.
Yes, please.
So he interviewed all kinds of people then?
He did.
Wow.
Sometimes he'd have on boring guests, but
most of the time it wasn't boring.
Yeah, most of the time it's pretty interesting.
What was the most boring person you watched him interview?
I couldn't even tell you, because I'd usually just zone out.
Go to sleep.
I used to love when he would have Quentin Tarantino on a show.
Really? Why?
Because Tarantino will often talk about not only his own films, but film history. And I find that stuff very fascinating.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I remember once he was on to promote Jackie Brown twice within like a 2-week period. The first time it was just him and Pam Grier. And the second time it was him, and it was like a round table. There were some movie critics and the guy who wrote the book Easy Riders, Raging Bulls. Have you ever read that book? That's a really interesting book. Peter, is it Nisbet? I might be having the last name wrong. Something Peter. And they were talking about the movies that were coming out. It was really, really cool.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, yes, babes.
Yeah.
Jaylo.
Yes.
We watched some Deep Space Nine the other day.
It was very good. Heavy, but very good. Yes.
Do you want me to give an overview of the first episode?
Yes, if you would, please.
We're on the space station. And what are you doing?
I'm putting some Melaleuca oil on.
Okay, I thought you were playing with your phone.
No. Why would I do that?
I don't know.
It's kind of rude.
I know. A Vedic who knows Kira, but hasn't seen her in a while, approaches. They start talking, go back to her quarters, they're reminiscing.
Yep.
He gives her something which turns out to be a mini transporter. She's taken from DS9 to another station. Is it Impok Nor?
Yes, you're correct. Impok Nor. Impok Nor, yeah.
Basically kidnapped.
Yes.
And it turns out it's by her friend has joined this radical Bajoran group called the Third Way.
Yeah,
Was it the third? No, it wasn't.
No. It's a
Pa-Wraith. Yes.
Pa-Wraith group, which is a Bajoran militant terrorist group.
Correct. The Third Way was another terrorist group. There's a lot of terrorist groups in DS9.
Yes.
It turns out that Gul Dukat is now the leader of the Pa-Wraith.
Yeah, it was very disturbing to see.
They want to show Kira how their society is functioning and why it's so great. There is a couple who is expecting a child. And Kira is told that this will be the first baby born on the space station. She's a little bit skeptical. You know, she goes back and forth with Dukat.
Right.
The kid is born, and she is clearly part Cardassian.
And was it a girl or a boy?
It was a girl.
It was a girl. And the girl looked just like Dukat.
Yes.
Just like Dukat to a T.
He pulls up the baby and says, "This is a sign from the gods that everything is going great," and everybody goes along with this.
Right. Including her, Mika's the woman.
Yes.
Including her husband, Benyon.
But Kira is not brainwashed, so she knows that something's up. And she can tell that Mika wants to say something, but isn't. Mm-hmm. So Kira talks to the dad, going around the station. And around this time, Mika is having a heated discussion with Gul Dukat. Mm-hmm. He leaves her and tries to open this door to the airlock that she's in and get her blown out to space.
That is just really mean.
Yeah, you should never do that to somebody.
Provided that you're not on a space station with an airlock.
There's an emergency button that Mika presses. It saves her life, but she's unconscious.
Yep, and she's taken to the infirmary.
Gul Dukat says that he had a vision, and it's the last one that he's going to receive, saying that everybody on the space station should kill themselves.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Well, we're going to get to that.
We are going to get to that.
Analysis.
We're going to get to the analysis part. Yeah.
Kira is tied up in this room, and he says, listen, we've contacted Deep Space Nine, and they'll be here for you in a few days. Kira's very upset with all this. Yes. She breaks out just as Dukat is supposed to take the pill, and she takes it out of his hands and smashes it. Mm-hmm. Tells him, well, you can take another one.
Yeah.
We find out that Dukat was going to kill all these people and then transport off of the space station. Uh-huh. Everybody gets mad at him. He leaves.
Her friend takes a pill, though.
Yep, and says something about faith.
Like, why are you... she's saying, don't do this. And I think she asked him a question like, why are you doing this or something? And he goes, faith, Norris, faith.
The friend dies in Kira's arms. It shows her back at the space station, DS9, that is, talking about... I'm sorry, no, she's on the Defiant, I think.
Yeah, she's on the Defiant.
And they're talking about, well, what are we going to do with all these people? Mm-hmm. And what does his last words mean? And if I'm correct, that's basically where the episode ends.
Yeah.
There is so much to break down here. First of all, I wanted to show you this episode for a long time. Uh-oh. Because I think it's a really interesting commentary on society. To give some context, this is about 20 years after the Jonestown Massacre happened.
You are right.
We're only about 5 years removed from David Koresh.
Yes.
And about a year or two removed from the Heaven's Gate cult.
Yes, and I do remember that.
Which has an interesting connection to Star Trek. Because Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura on the original show, I believe her nephew was in Heaven's Gate, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And he died trying to...
He died with him.
Yes. Going to the Hale-Bopp comment.
Yes, that was very strange, yes.
So, what does this episode say to you about cults?
There are people that are so charismatic and I kind of go back and forth with the people who actually follow them. Mm-hmm. Are they following them because they truly believe that that's what they can do, or were they what am I saying? Are they well-meaning people that just got caught up in this situation and they got so caught up into it that they can't get out of it, or were they brainwashed to the point where they don't know what's true and what isn't true?
I think it's probably a mixture of people who aren't that intelligent anyway, and other folks who have ran out of options.
And they're just looking for something to believe in, and they would take anything that they could get. Would you say?
That's my assumption.
Okay, you might be right about that. I couldn't tell you because I've never been so deeply involved in a cult, because I knew I figured out something about whatever situation I was in concerning a cult.
Alana doesn't like Mormonism.
I wasn't talking about that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't, but that's a different story. That's a different story. No, I never got caught up in that. No. Other things, but not that.
Oh.
No, but I saw through it, so I was able to put 2 and 2 together.
Good.
Yeah.
What does Gul Dukat teach us about cult leaders, if anything?
Well, I just thought that this was another evil thing that he wanted to do while he was still alive. I also thought, I was thinking to myself, okay, Kira can see through all of this, but the question I had was, what was so charismatic about Dukat that people would want to follow him anyway? Because he was a schemer. I believe that he was a schemer, since I first was introduced to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he still yet was a schemer. So anything he told Kira wasn't going to believe it anyway. But I wonder what was so wonderful about him that people would make him, would revere him as this leader. I wonder that. He must have said something so charismatic or looked a certain way. It's kind of, when I think about what's his name? Rajneesh. The Bhagwan.
Yes.
Rajneesh, right? So what could possibly make him so charismatic? I mean, he was just a regular guy from India. Nothing too special about him. Died fairly young, but he was able to bring people together for as long as they were together. But what made him so charismatic, I wonder? And why would Sheila follow him to the ends of the earth? So, I mean, and then, yeah, I wonder that. I do wonder that. What about you?
I think this goes back to Gul Dukat found desperate people, and it played into his ego to want to lead them. Yeah. Because we know that he is full of himself.
He's so evil. Mm-hmm. He really is.
And I'm wondering, there's an interesting back and forth at the end of this episode where Kira says that Gul Dukat is more dangerous because basically he believes that he has like a spiritual goal now.
Yeah, because she made a statement that he's really changed, but not for the better.
Right, because before he was just high off his own arrogance.
Yes.
And now that has led him to believe that he has a bigger purpose.
But it's really a purpose for evil.
But what do you think that says? Because a lot of people said similar things about Hitler.
It was it just, to me, it's adding more fuel to the fire. You know, he's not just an arrogant person, but now he's an arrogant spiritual leader.
Well, let me rephrase the question.
Right.
Do you think that a criminal / cult leader who believes that they are doing God's work is more dangerous than somebody who's just out to be destructive for their own goals?
I think that's even more dangerous.
Why?
Because you're playing into people's emotions. You're not just doing it for your own self, but you're putting, you are essentially acting as if you are a god, or the person is elevating themselves to be God, and that's even more dangerous, I think.
What does Mika's husband teach us about denying truth?
You know, I was thinking about this, and I think he knew something was going on, but he was denying it because he didn't want to, I'm guessing, this is just my own theory, I'm guessing he didn't want to believe that Dukat could really do something awful with his wife and still be a leader. He would, he did, I don't think he wanted to believe that Dukat was still out for his own interests and still be the leader of the Paul Wraith group.
Is there any part of you that relates to him?
I don't know that there is. I don't think so. I can't say that I have been in a situation like that.
Interesting.
Because I saw through it. I saw through stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't get so caught up into it so deep that I couldn't get out of it. So I really don't have anything to go on. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're not a Moorman.
It's M-O-N. Yes.
I want to know, Jaylo.
Yes.
Tell me what you think about Kira's, I guess, former friend who kills himself. What do you think brought him to Ducat?
I really think that, going back to what you said, I think that he was a desperate person that was looking for something to believe in. And when he thought he found it, he thought he was doing he thought he was doing something good by following this person, and he was willing to die for it. And it's really sad to see. But I think he was one of those very desperate people that didn't know what to do.
Would you recommend this episode to anyone?
I would. It really makes people think. It makes people think. I really think it makes a person really think about cult leaders in the past and how they were able to gain people's trust. And once they gain people's trust, then they could execute their own plans for their own goals and not think about the interests of others. It really makes a person think. And when you were talking about the pills, I thought, sounds like the Jonestown Massacre, where everybody took the Kool-Aid. I'll drink the Kool-Aid. I
hear you. Apparently, the Kool-Aid thing is a myth, but I still like using it as an analogy.
Who reported on that?
I read this really interesting book. I think it's called The People's Temple.
The People's Temple is the name of the church.
I know, but I think somebody wrote a book called The People's Temple.
Okay. Well, then how did they die then? Because the
cyanide was put in something else, or it was pills, or I forget exactly.
Because as far as I have heard and have seen, it all came back to Kool-Aid, and that's where you get
I know the reference, but I think it's a nice story, which is why I want to keep promoting it, but it's not exactly true from what I hear.
Well, how do you know if this? Well, and I'm not questioning that. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I just want to know, how do you know that this author who wrote this book is correct in this idea?
Well, that's why I said apparently.
Okay.
And not, I know for sure that they didn't use
Allegedly.
Kool-Aid. Allegedly. Yeah. I would say apparently.
Apparently.
But it's a nice myth. It makes me not want to drink Kool-Aid, so I go with it.
I'll drink Kool-Aid on occasion, but it's honestly too sweet.
Yeah.
I like Kool-Aid as long as I know what's not in it.
Imagine being an advertising executive in the 1970s for Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Everything's going well, and then you turn on the TV one day and you hear about Jonestown.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, I gotta get a new gig.
I like Kool-Aid. I mean, I don't drink it all the time. I think it's too sweet, but I'm not going to stop drinking Kool-Aid just because of that.
No, I'm just having fun, babes.
Yeah.
You're allowed to not take everything so seriously.
Oh, I heard a funny Your Mama joke a long time ago.
I'm sure I've heard it before, but go ahead, tell me.
Your mama's so, I think it was like, your mama's so fat that whenever she wore red, everybody said Kool-Aid.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. It was said funnier than I could have put it, but...
Okay, good.
Okay.
Jaylo.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to say about this episode?
It's a little bit... It's not quite as disturbing as the O'Brien episode when he was going through PTSD, but this is heavy enough that although it is kind of disturbing, it's very good.
It sticks with you.
It really does. You never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it yesterday. I mean, next week...
I still haven't gotten it.
Next week, and we could bring it up, and you could be like, what happened, okay?
No, I won't forget
Call the car. Who's he? Who's this Don't kill a lady. I don't want no major.
Oh, you stop it.
Sorry, bitch. I didn't know. Would you like to talk about the other episode we watched?
I will try to summarize as best as I can.
Okay.
So this episode was based on Esri Dax. Esri. Can I start to where she talks to her mother?
However you want to do it. But remember, there's a reason why she talked to her mom.
Yes. So if I remember correctly, her mother wanted her to come back to New Sydney. She talks to her mom because they are looking for Miles O'Brien because the chief has been missing and it's possible that he may be on New Sydney. I'm guessing it's a planet, right?
Yes.
That's kind of a cool name. I thought it almost sounded like a place in Australia because they have Sydney, Australia. Anyway, I digress. So she's like, your name is Esri Dax? And she's like, yes, that's the name of the Dax symbiote. Anyone who has a symbiote in them takes on the name of Dax. And she says, well, Esri Tegan Dax, I want you to come home. And she's like, well, I can't come home. I have business here. It's like, well, you tell them that you have a difficult mother, and I forgot what else she said, and you have to come home now.
Your mom isn't going to help.
Your mom is not going to help find O'Brien, and you have to come now. She goes home. She sees her brothers, Norvo and Janelle. It's kind of funny. I'm like, Janelle? Yeah, okay. That's a girl's name, isn't it? Anyway.
I met a girl's named Janelle.
Yes.
And I am dating this lady who has a cousin that I believe might be named Janelle.
Oh, really?
Don't worry, it's not you. I'm dating somebody else. Keep going.
Hey.
No, keep going. I made that part up.
Okay. I'm going to get you.
A candy ball? Sorry, keep going.
Maybe. Anyway. Okay, so she goes home, sees her brothers. I believe Janelle is the older brother who's doing some things for their mom, right?
Right.
It's like a business thing, isn't it?
Yeah, they're running these, I think they're mines where people work to, get stuff from the ground, that type of thing.
Okay. And Janelle's supposed to work on this report. And
Janelle is also, I'm sorry, the other one is a tortured artist. But
Norvo.
Norvo
is a tortured artist, and he is the younger of the two brothers.
May I give a little bit of backstory, my dear?
Go ahead.
O'Brien the reason he left to go to New Sydney was because he was looking for the widow.
That's right, I was going to get there.
Okay, keep going then.
He was looking for the widow of this guy's named Bilby. I forgot what his first name is. And so, anyway, Esri is talking to her brothers, and especially talking to Norvo, because I'm guessing that's her younger brother, the two brothers.
That's my assumption.
Yes. And he's this tortured artist, and she's convincing him, hey, you should come to DS9 with me. Take your time, come to DS9 with me. You should get out of this house, because she thinks that their mother is smothering him to death.
A mother.
Smother. She's smothering him and mothering him to death. Well,
she's still breastfeeding him.
No, not like that. You know what I mean.
He hasn't been toilet trained yet. He's 47.
Oh my God.
Sorry, keep going.
Anyway, so she's talking about that. All of a sudden, Miles appears. Am I correct? Miles appears at their house.
A guard finds
Miles. A guard finds Miles. It's clear that he's been beat up. And he tells Esri, because I think he wasn't very friendly to the guard. And he's been looking for Morika Bilby, who was the woman that was missing, and he informs Esri that she has been found dead. Can you chime in, please?
And O'Brien has just been beaten up by the Orion Syndicate.
Yes.
Which, they're not the main villain in DS9, but they kind of play like an odd role. They were the ones responsible for the shuttlecraft sabotage in the episode where Quark was going to testify against them, and Odo and him were stuck on this planet together.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a few other shady things.
Yes, that's right.
And O'Brien says, okay, we should look through the computers, make sure everything's all right. They're going through these files. He looks at Ezri and says, were you trying to hide something from me?
Right.
Because there's some questionable interactions between her family and the Syndicate.
And she says, I have no idea what's going on here. And she really didn't have any idea what was going on.
Ezri is kind of ditzy, I've noticed.
She is ditzy. She's not quite as there like Dax, like Jadzia was.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and Milo is saying, well, I hate to say this, but one of your families may have been, one of your family members may have been involved in the death of Marika Bilby. And Marika Bilby was working for them.
Was she?
Remember?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You remember she didn't...
I'm sorry. You're right, because it talks about how she first got paid like a small amount of money, and then it started to grow. And there's a confrontation between the Ezris...
The Tegans.
The Tegans, I'm sorry. They're fighting with each other. It comes out that the older brother... What's the homeboy's name? Janelle. Started taking money from the Syndicate a few years back because it looked like their mining company was going to go under.
Yep.
In exchange, he was asked to hire Bilby
Marika Bilby, yeah.
Yes.
I forgot what her husband's name was.
She kept wanting more and more money.
Yep.
The younger brother killed Marika.
He did.
O'Brien goes back. Ezri stays for the trial. We fast forward. Ezri's back on the station, trying to have something to drink.
Well, hold on. You forgot a part.
Tell me.
There is a part where her mother asks Ezri, she's like, was it my fault?
Oh, yeah. That's great. Fault? That's a great scene. You're right.
Yeah.
I totally skipped over that, babe.
Well, she looks at Ezri and she goes, was it my fault, Ezri? Do you think I had something to do with this? And Ezri walks away.
Yes, that's great.
That is great.
It's just sometimes when you say I forgot a part, it's like, Quark offered somebody a high five. But you're right. This is actually a good thing that I skipped over, and I don't know why I did.
That's okay.
Yes. Okay, so that happens, and that is a good scene. Okay, so now we're on the space station.
Yeah, go on.
O'Brien is sitting down next to Ezri. She says that her brother got 30 years in prison, and he's like, oh, good. Little bastard deserved it. And she's like, I can see why you felt that way.
No, he said...
I'm exaggerating.
He said...
Go ahead.
I don't think that was enough time.
I said it in my own way, babes.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
That wasn't woo.
The sentiment is the same.
Suppose somebody watches it and they're gonna see that wasn't exactly said. And they're gonna come back to you and say, Rick, that wasn't the right thing you said.
But I break it down in Rick speak.
Rick speak.
He's like that little bastard.
Rick speak. Schmick speak.
Anyways, Ezri says something to the effect of, "Go ahead, Jaylo."
What did she say?
I can see why you felt that way. I can see
why you felt that way.
But you didn't know him the way we did.
You didn't know him the way that we did.
He was always the one that we thought was going to be the
really, really special. Yeah,
yes.
We thought that he was going to be really special.
And then people just kept bullying him, or she goes on somewhere.
She said something like people just kept telling him and degrading him and telling him that he wouldn't amount to anything. And of course, that's no excuse.
No.
Yeah.
And that's basically where the episode ends.
It's pretty heavy, but it was really good. It really makes you think. Also,
I like this episode a lot, and one of the reasons is. Usually when you have a main cast member on a Star Trek show, let's just go with that, and in general, you might see them arguing with their family a little bit, but you don't see this sort of view of their relatives as enemies.
Right,
You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
But have you, I mean, I've noticed this. Like, if some family member, like son or a daughter or sister or brother or dad, the family, for the most part, families are willing to stand behind this person. Even though they're, even though the police may have more evidence on this person, they would still stand behind them. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. And they go back to, well, this person would never do that, and here's why. This person used to be this way. I know that he's been struggling, or she's been struggling with being bullied and being pushed to the brink of hurting somebody, things like that. And it's almost like they lived in denial for a long time.
They didn't justify it. I mean, Esri talks a little bit about him as a kid, but it's not to say that he didn't deserve a punishment. She was just giving O'Brien an alternative view of this guy's life.
I think it's more denial than anything, because they just could never see him doing something so brutal to another person. So
let's break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
What does this episode teach us about Esri?
She was willing to see the good in her brother, even though she knew that what he did was terribly wrong, and he deserved to be in there.
I guess maybe I should rephrase it a little bit. Does it tell us, do we learn anything about who she is as a person? Like background story?
I think so, yes.
What do you think it was like for her growing up in this household?
It had to be horrible because, well, we don't know anything about her father, but it sounds like her mom was the one who called the shots. And it sounded like she wanted to branch out and do her own thing and not live by her mom's rules all the time. If anyone broke her mother's rules, her mother wouldn't let them hear the end of it. I mean, she really had the reins. She really ruled the roost.
I have always had this fantasy, babe.
Uh-oh.
That I wish I grew up like super, super rich.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I look at it from the outside, like, oh, if your parents have money, you're good to go for life.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be like that, though.
I still have this dream one day that I'll find out that I've inherited $10 million from some relative who I never met. It's
okay.
Unlikely.
A man can dream.
Yes, a boy can dream.
A boy can dream.
A man can dream too.
And a man can dream.
I'm wondering, from your perspective, we get the sense that Esri grew up with money.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the reality of that, of having an overbearing parent.
Yeah. And
living with oppressed siblings.
Uh-huh.
How do you think that impacted her?
I think it impacted her pretty significantly. I mean, it's hard for her now to relate to them, and I'm kind of bringing the Dax symbiote into it, right?
Go ahead.
Because now that she's joined, they have to get used to her personality, because now she's got like 8 different lifetimes of memories. And that's another thing in itself. But also, she has branched out. She became a counselor. She's now a counselor, a lieutenant. What is it? Lieutenant?
Junior grade.
Junior grade, lieutenant, and counselor on DS9. And she likes it. She wants to do that for herself, and she doesn't want to be under her mother's watchful eye.
She says something interesting early on in the episode, before she goes to New Sydney.
Yeah.
I think she said it to Julian, something to the effect of, they're going to have to deal with a new me, and to be honest, they weren't quite sure how to handle the old me.
Right, so it kind of makes you wonder, well, how was she before this? Mm-hmm. Was she just as ditzy as before? Or was she flighty? Or was she flaky? Was she flighty? Was she fickle? Was she all there when it came to different things? Was she as confused as she is now? I don't know. I kind of wonder. I kind of wonder. But I don't know that we'll ever know.
How do you think this experience affects the relationship between Dax and O'Brien?
I don't know. That's a good question. What do you think?
Well, the reason I specifically said Dax, referring to the Sydbian, is because it takes into account the relationship that he had with Jadzia.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, they were pretty close.
I mean, they were.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, they were.
They went through battle together. She's definitely closer to Benjamin than anybody else.
She was close to him, but it wasn't. Yeah,
she was cool with Orion.
She was.
It's something that I'm still grappling with.
I don't know, actually. I really don't. I'm grappling with it too, and even though I just saw it yesterday, I don't know. But it was a really good episode.
What do you think happens with Esri next? Does she visit her brother who's in jail on occasion? Is he still in contact with her mom?
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. That's part of your shtick.
No, it's not.
Keep going.
It's just an accident.
Okay.
I am thinking that it's possible that she doesn't. She kind of starts to distance herself from her mother, judging by what her mother asked her, and then she leaves.
She was already, in a sense, doing that before she went to New Sydney.
Yeah. I think in a way she told her, yes, you are partly to blame for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because had you not smothered him so much and babied him, he probably would have been able to deal with his own problems.
Yeah. I mean, when Esri comes there, he's still eating baby formula.
No, not like...
And he's 53.
No, that's an exaggeration.
Okay.
No, Mama's not giving him a binky or a baba.
Okay.
I want my baba. Anyway, no binkies, no babas.
Nice.
No pacifiers, no bottles.
Good.
So, I mean, I think that maybe on occasion she'll visit her brother in prison, because I think I think that she still loves her brother regardless of what he has done, and she's trying to make sense of it.
Nice.
I would imagine she still visits both her brothers.
Mm.
Yeah.
But not the mom as much.
Maybe not. No. Maybe she'll visit them and make sure the mom isn't around. Because I can tell that there's some contention, there's some tension between the two of them. I
gotta sit up. My elbow was killing me. I was leaning on it.
Oh, that's not good.
No. Is there anything else you want? Well, before I say that, would you recommend this episode to anybody?
Yes, I would.
Okay. What type of person?
Anybody. Anyone that is interested in watching Deep Space Nine, and maybe it would make them think about all the, whether or not they have tension in their own family and how they deal with it. And should a relative commit a murder, how do you deal with it?
Without going into personal detail too much.
Okay.
Did this episode make you think of any aspects of your own family relationships?
Yes.
Okay.
It certainly did.
Nice.
Because I'll just say this without, giving too much away. In some ways, in my own family, I had, in some ways, felt oppression. As much as they loved me and cared about me and supported me throughout my young life, today I'm still being pulled in different directions.
Yes. And
I'm still trying to deal with it, and I'm still trying to deal with it, and and it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating because some people, some relatives just don't want to let go, and I'm not just talking about me personally, and I'm talking about other people. Some of them just don't want to let go of that child that they raised or helped raised. They want them to grow up, but they don't want them to grow up. And it's very, very frustrating and very, very, it's very difficult. And I've been honest with a lot of people about this. So That's what I would say. It really made me think about what I've gone through personally, and what I feel like I'm still going through.
And what maybe you feel like other members of your family have gone through, as far as cousins and sisters and whatnot.
Right, nice. Right. I will say that I feel like I've gotten more of the brunt of it, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And it does feel very heavy. It does feel very heavy sometimes.
When you watch more DS9, which is possible we'll do today.
I think so.
Are you going to look at Esri differently? Are you going to have more empathy for her?
I think so. I won't just think of her as some ditzy lieutenant counselor. Nice. No, I think that she does have some depth to her, and now I can appreciate her because of what she went through with her family. Does that make sense?
It does.
Good.
Yes, very good, Jay. Well,
very good.
After we watched this episode, you and I decided to take a nap.
Yeah, that was a long one. I mean, it was longer that I took one.
It was around 2 hours, I believe.
I think it was almost 2 hours. I was tired. Yes. I must have really needed it, but I'm wide awake right now.
That's good. Well, that was yesterday.
I did have a good sleep that later on, but anyway.
You woke me up this morning.
I know. I wasn't trying to.
I was sound asleep and then I hear cough, 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 okay. Oh my God. Cough, 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 okay, cough, cough, cough. And I'm like, what's going on? And you're like, it's time to get up.
No, I didn't say that.
No, you didn't. I exaggerated.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness.
Sorry, that's for commentary.
Hammond's exaggerating.
Oh my goodness.
Look out, everybody.
We did have baked potatoes for dinner last night.
It turned out super good. And I finished the last of mine this morning, but it was delicious.
Yes.
It turned out really well. And then later on tonight, we're going to have paninis.
That's right.
Yes.
And I get to show you 2 cool movies.
Yes.
Alana.
Yes.
You showed me a couple of films last night.
I did.
That I really enjoyed. Do you want to give the overview of Moana?
Yes.
So I'll tell you this. You're also going to give the overview of the Goonies because it was hard for me to see everything, and you watched it a lot more times.
I did.
So just so you know, you're giving overviews on 2 films today.
Okay.
Yes, but start with Moana.
So, Moana is I thought it was a really fun movie to show you because we have connections to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. I grew up there. You also have family there, and you lived there for a time. And I wanted to show you a movie that really emphasizes Polynesian folklore, and a movie that talks about that, because I mean, for the Disney movies I've seen, they haven't featured like Polynesian cultures in the movie. So everybody who was voicing the characters were from each of the Polynesian islands, like New Zealand and Samoa, or they have ties to the islands, and Hawaii. It was really cool. So Moana it starts off with this island. It's an island called Motunui, which is a fictional place. And the grandmother of Moana is reading the children stories about the legend of Maui, who is the demigod who stole the heart from the island Tefiti. And when he stole that heart, there was darkness on the island, and he had to get it back. But in the legend, he has disappeared. No one can find him, and the heart was taken with him. He disappeared. And the legend was, to rewrite this wrong, somebody had to go on a boat and escort Maui across the great ocean to restore the heart of Tefiti. Okay? So this is where the story starts.
Okay.
Moana, you see Moana sitting by the ocean, and she's watching the ocean, and it looks like the ocean is really responding to her, and it is implied in the beginning of the movie that the ocean has chosen her. Her father comes out, takes her inside, and says, "You can't go there. You have to stay here with us." He doesn't want anyone, including his daughter, to go beyond the reef.
And he's the chief of the island.
He is the chief, yes. And so you see her grow up. She's a teenager then, and she wants to know, she is destined to be the new chief. She wants to know why people are not allowed to go beyond the reef. So time passes on. There's some other things. I don't want to give it too much away because I want everybody to see it.
Tell what you want.
Time passes on. The grandmother explains that the reason why her father doesn't want anyone to go over the reef is because something happened to his friend in the ocean and he couldn't save his friend. And for that, he wants everyone not to suffer, and he's keeping everyone from beyond the reef because he doesn't want to lose anyone.
But they're also running out of food.
And they're also running out of food. And so the grandma shows her this place, and she says, in order for you to find the key to what you should do, you have to bang the drum. She hits 2 drums, I believe. She goes into this room and she bangs a drum. Each drum, the first drum doesn't do anything. The second drum, when she hits it, she sees a bunch of boats. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she realizes, oh my goodness, we're our family. We are a family of voyagers. We are a family of voyagers. She tells her grandmother she's very, very happy. She talks to her father and she says, look, somebody needs to get more food. We're running out of food. I can do this. I'm the one that the ocean has chosen to escort, to restore the heart to Tefiti. So I'm going to do this. And I think unbeknownst to her family, she gets on her boat. She gets into a couple of scrapes. She has to get rested. And in the midst of all that, her grandmother dies. I think I might be. It's possible I may be skipping some things.
Yeah, I believe the grandmother passed away before Moana got on the boat with her bird friend.
Right before she did. Yes, before she officially did. But she got on the ocean for a little bit. And I think that was before. Oh, I think that might have been before she found out she was chosen and that they were voyagers. Anyway,
correct.
Her grandmother dies, and she says, "Whatever you do, if you are not on the ocean, even if you're on the ocean, I will be with you." So she decides to get her things together. She's in her canoe. Hey, the chicken.
Really dumb.
I like him though. He's funny.
Okay.
Hey, the chicken gets on the boat to be your companion.
He's kind of like snuck away into the boat. She doesn't realize it until they're out in the sea. And there's this cute little scene where he jumps off the boat and she goes after him.
Right. Yes, he's a dumb chicken, but he's funny. So he's on the boat with her, and they are in some pretty rough terrain, rough waves. And somewhere along the way, I can't remember how, she runs into Maui, voiced by
The Rock.
Yes, Dwayne Johnson.
The man who defeats jabronis.
Right.
Then feeds them ponies. With some macaroni.
And rice-a-roni.
Yes. She lands on this island and meets him. And she's like, thinking, this is a bad mofo. And he expects to be worshipped.
He expects to be worshipped, and he's like, well, everybody likes me. Everybody likes me. I'm the demigod, and I am a hero of men. And she's like, this is ridiculous, okay? And so she repeats this thing where she says, I am Moana of Motunui. You will board my boat across the great sea and restore the heart to Te Fiti. And she's trying to say this, like, what? And he's trying to kind of get into her good graces. Mm-hmm. He doesn't think that he doesn't think that he needs to do this. And so he does get on the boat. They make a deal.
First they run into these pirates.
Who
take his wand? Hook.
His hook.
Which gives him the ability to shapeshift.
Yeah, Tamatoa is the crab who got his hook. So they run into him. He's kind of a funny crab. Would you say?
Yes.
Yes. And so without the hook, he believes doesn't have any power. So, would you like to chime in?
They make a deal. They're gonna go and get the hook, and then they're gonna go and save the islands. Mm-hmm. They travel to this place, and there's like a mountain he has to climb. It leads into the land of monsters, I believe they refer to it in the movie.
I believe so.
He tells Moana, stay here with Hey Hey, and I'll be back soon.
Yeah.
But Moana, being somebody who marches to the sound of her own drum, follows him up.
Literally, yeah.
There's this great scene where they're at the top of this mountain. She's like, there's no door here.
Yeah.
He does this little chant.
Yeah.
The passageway opens. He jumps in and he's just like, I'm still falling. I'm
falling.
She decides to jump in after him.
Yeah.
I love it. He lands and is like, there's no way she'd jump in after me. Uh-huh. And then she falls on him, goes like a couple feet, and then is like, I think she's snatched by something. He's like, oh, she's probably dead. But it turns out she's alive.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yes. Take it from here, Jaylo.
Yeah. So somewhere along the way, they're almost on the way to Te Fiti, but somewhere along the way, Maui deserts her because we should say that
he got the thing back, just so we wrap up that.
He got the hook back.
Yes.
He deserts her and says, I'm not the one, you should not be, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not returning the heart, forget it. And
could I maybe interject for a few seconds?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you must.
They try to go to Te Fiti. I believe she has a dream about it and wakes up.
Yes, she does.
And they're traveling. I hope I'm getting it in sequence.
Yeah. Okay.
There's these like pirates. He jumps off the boat and then he jumps back on and he's like, okay, move back. And she just keeps moving forward. Uh-huh. The boat is thrown. His hook. It isn't broken completely, but it looks like it's about to fall apart.
It looks like it's about to fall, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they get into a bit of a heated discussion.
Yeah, an argument, yeah.
About, he tells her, well, why didn't you move the boat?
Yeah, why didn't you
She's like, I didn't think you were serious, bro.
Yeah.
Then he says, okay, you're on your own. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. She does make it to Te Fiti. And she realizes that the island is gone, or at least it looks like the island is gone. And then she says, I am going to call the island to me. So she was able to call the island, and she, I forgot what she sings, but she's singing to the island, and she's saying, this is who you are. We really are. And so she gives a rock back to the island, and you said it was a really cool scene when you saw that. And they embrace, and while this is going on, she finds out later on that Maui's hook is restored, and he appears again.
What happens is he comes back to help with the fight.
Yes.
And this like green lady, who I guess is the god, picks the two of them up in her hand, gives Maui a new hook, Moana starts worshiping the god. The lady puts them back down on the island, which is now vegetated.
Yeah.
So there's this scene earlier on the boat when Maui first joins her.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about exploring the seas. I forgot what he called it. Some job of being a sailor.
I can't remember either. I have to look at that.
Yeah, so we're getting the terminology wrong with this. But basically she says... He tells her that he has to go, and she says something to the effect of, but we need you. We need somebody to be a good sailor. And he tells her, you already got someone. It's you.
Oh, I forgot what the sailor term was.
Yes, I know that because I just asked you.
I forgot what it was, though.
I know. We established it. You forgot, babe. Oh, and then she wants to go, bounce.
No, she doesn't. Like,
no.
No, she doesn't.
Okay.
It's not that kind of movie.
But he gives her a hug. She gives him a hug, rather.
I know, but she doesn't, yeah.
And then everything is kind of like restored.
Everything is restored. And she comes back home.
Yes.
Yes. It is a good movie.
Historically, I have been disappointed in Disney movies. And...
Yeah, but you haven't watched a lot, though.
I'm telling you.
Okay. Shall we?
I'm usually baffled by the fact that it seems like if there's an animated movie and they put the Disney logo in front of it, no matter how it is, people will tell you that it's like one of the most brilliant films of that year. So I wasn't sure what to think of this movie going in. Is it going to be a case like that, or is it going to be actually good? Mm-hmm. And this was a pretty good movie. Yeah,
good. I'm glad you liked it. I had a feeling you were going to like it.
Yeah, I think it also helps that I haven't been hearing since it came out how great it is. Like you've told me about it. And I may have heard a few people discuss it on some movie pundit sites.
Right.
But it hasn't been overkill. Like, this is such a great movie. This defines my entire existence.
But just because you heard that it was a good movie, it doesn't mean it's gonna be a horrible movie.
No, but I find with Disney, people are looking for an excuse to like it. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like... people will say a movie is good just because it's a Disney film, is the sense that I've gotten.
Okay, well, I've never had that experience. But there is a lot of movies and there's some Disney movies that I haven't watched either.
Right, but we disagree over some of them, most notably Aladdin.
Aladdin wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I was really disappointed with, actually. True.
But I'm sure you could find people who say The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a classic movie just because it has the Disney logo on it.
I disagree, but...
Another recent example is Up. Like, I thought it was better than Aladdin. It's not a horrible movie, but I'm surprised it's considered as great by so many people. Considered to be great by so many people.
Okay.
This film actually lived up to the hype.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. I don't know. I know that my family likes it, and I like it, and I know a few people that do, but I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I thought Moana was a strong 7.
Yes.
I want to know, babes.
Yes.
What does this film teach us about prejudging people who we only hear about but don't actually know?
Well, as the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't prejudge people unless you actually get to know them. It's hard to do sometimes. Like, for example, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if celebrities would be a good example of that, because you know of them, but you haven't met them. You can only just have this idea in your head about how they're like, or whatever it is.
In a way, Maui is a celebrity on this island. He's one who they don't see. I guess that's, could feed into the whole celebrity thing. He's like Saddam Hussein, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the first person who came to my mind.
Okay.
But he's like an evil celebrity. Mm-hmm. And that is the type of person who Moana is expecting to meet. He's a little bit arrogant, but he means well, and he made a few mistakes, but he's not a horrible...
He's not evil.
Yeah, he's not evil.
He's not evil. He just did something really wrong, and he needs to restore it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Has something like that ever happened to you, to where you'll hear about how bad a person is and then actually meet them and be surprised how much you enjoyed their company?
Not, I can't think of any examples. I wish I did. I have heard of friends meeting celebrities that they thought that they were this way, but they were actually a nice person.
Yeah.
But I also heard stories of my friends meeting celebrities that they thought that they were this way, but they're just this horrible, mean person. So, but that hasn't happened to me personally. And so I wish I had a better example. What
does Moana teach us about defying authority?
I think that it's interesting because she wasn't thinking about herself, right? She was thinking about the well-being of the people on the island because she was becoming the next chief. And her father, as much as she loved her father, wasn't giving her a good enough reason why she should not go beyond the wreath, or that anybody should go beyond the wreath. And I've noticed that with older adults, I'm not just talking about adults that I know, but older adults, like they'll say, no, you can't do this, but they won't give you a reason why. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that it's only fair to say, well, why shouldn't I do this? Why do you not want me to do this? Why are you advising me not to do this? Did something happen to you and you are trying to warn somebody not to do it because it happened to you? Or, you know what I mean? So I don't know that she was necessarily defying authority, but more that she wanted to find out what her father wasn't going to tell her, and she was going to do it whether he wanted her to or not, because she knew that whatever it was going to help the well-being of the people on the island.
If I could interpret it, what you just said.
Yes.
Sounds like what you're saying basically is desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yes.
And while Moana's father may have been a great leader when things are going good, things are now a little bit shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires somebody like Moana, who is a member of the younger generation, to think outside of the box.
Right, and I don't think she meant to do that to hurt her father. I think she felt that she was chosen and she had to do it. Yeah. She felt that the ocean chose her and she had to do that, and she felt that was the only way that things were going to get done.
Yes.
And she wasn't going to put her people in danger.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. What type of life does Moana have after things get restored at the end of the movie?
I think she has a much better life. She probably becomes the next chiefess, I guess. And, you know, and already they're asking her questions, and she is trying to be like a person that they can consult. And I think that she makes her parents proud, especially when she was willing to go all the way to go all the way to Tafiti just to restore the heart and restore that island and to restore her island.
Let's explore the idea of heaven and an afterlife very briefly.
Okay.
Moana believes in these island gods.
Right.
Right. So she doesn't believe in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But she saves so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Presumably, she's going to continue believing in the gods based on her experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When she dies, does Moana go to heaven?
I can't. I would say no.
Wow.
But that's not for me to put the final judgment on that. She may not.
Wow.
She may not. But again, she isn't a real person.
No, but when you watch a movie,
I don't think of it that way though.
Okay.
I mean, I know you think of it that way, and that's cool, but I don't.
Wow.
I don't think of them as real people.
I mean, listen, I know they're not real people, but when I have to think of them as real when I'm examining a film.
But I would say no. But that's my own opinion. But at the same time, I can't make the final judgment on that. It's not really for me to condemn or condone.
Oh.
But if you were to ask me, I would say no.
Okay. Maybe we'll talk about that more during Bible study.
Okay.
Does Moana ever see Maui again, do you think?
I would imagine she does. Because remember, she says, we need you to be on our island. I forgot what she said, what position he could be in.
The sailor.
The sailor,
The other name for the sailor.
I forgot what
it. Remember.
I cannot remember. Yes. But anyway, I think he does come back to the island with her, and remain there, and they become friends.
Do you think that they?
No.
Okay.
I know what you're gonna say.
Okay.
You're gonna turn it into a co-op movie.
Oh, what if? I would never do that. So what if?
Yes, you would, Bubs.
Oh, what else?
But I love you anyway. Okay.
I love you too, Jaylo. Do you think that the green god who gives Maui his power to shapeshift back, do you think she is proud of Moana and what she accomplished?
I would think so. Yeah. Was that Tefiti, the island, or was that the goddess? Or
it was a green goddess.
Okay.
It seemed like.
I have to go through the description because I cannot remember who that was. Okay.
Yes.
I would imagine that she is.
How much of Moana's faith do you think plays into her success in this movie?
I would imagine it does. Because she has faith in the legend of Maui, and I think it certainly does because she puts a lot of faith in the ocean too.
What does this film teach us about rising up to a challenge even when you don't think that you're ready? Because there's a lot of funny stuff in here about Moana practicing to basically force Maui to join her or to get him, where he's supposed to go. So what do we learn from that?
What was the question again?
What does this film teach us about rising up to a challenge when we may think that we're not ready? Or being certain?
It's well, that phrase, leap of faith, right? It takes a leap of faith. And sometimes, even if you're not ready, you just have to do it. Because you'll never know if you don't. If that's something that you feel that you should do. You'll never know if you'll never know if you shouldn't have done it or if you should have done it if you didn't take that leap.
I want to know, what does the life of Moana's father look like after this adventure? I know he's proud of his daughter, but does he spend his remaining years feeling defeated, like he's been so wrong, and now he must submit to her for the rest of his life?
I don't think he does feel defeated. Okay. I think that maybe after this he has a better understanding of, maybe I should have handled it better, and even though I wasn't able to save my friend, the people of our island have been saved because of my daughter's actions. Yes. And I have to be grateful and thankful for that. Because even if I couldn't save my friend, other people were saved.
It's a good movie.
Yes.
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 Is there anything else you want to say about it? Philosophy, or how you felt as a Christian hearing so many people refer to these gods as deities?
I mean, I was, I knew that about Hawaiian folklore, for example, because Hawaiians, if you know, they worship an amakua. You know what that is, right? Yes. It's like a fish, right?
Yes.
And they put a lot of faith in the gods and the goddesses. And even though I don't, I kind of understand where that came from.
So it doesn't bother you then?
Well, they're just legends. I mean, it's not something that I believe in. It doesn't bother me that I watched a movie like this, but it educates me about folklore, about Tahitian, Polynesian folklore.
Well, here's an interesting question.
Oh.
Presumably, there's a lot of Hawaiians who are not Christian.
Yeah.
And who died believing in folklore.
Right.
Do you believe that most Hawaiians go to hell?
I can't say most Hawaiians go to hell because, again, I'm not the judge of all things dying. Okay. Because I'm not the ultimate judge. Yes. So I really can't say that. Oh. Yeah. Yes. I can't give my judgment on that.
Well, but you have opinions, though.
I do have opinions, but I'm not the ultimate judge. I can't say that.
Sounds like somebody's trying to be PC.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
I could say what my opinion is and what I believe, but I'm not the ultimate judger. I'm not going to condemn anybody to hell. Nice. But I'm also going to be honest about what I believe concerning that.
There we go, Jaylo.
Like I said about Moana.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I'm not trying to be PC. I can't stand PC culture. Okay. Did you say that because you wanted me to explain that?
I was just curious about that.
No, I mean the PC thing, because you said that it sounded like I was PC.
Yeah, because you weren't saying... My understanding of you, and I could be wrong, is that you believe that most people who are Hawaiian are going to hell. But you feel like you don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure.
And you don't want to go out on the limb and say it.
And I don't want to condemn an entire race to hell. Yeah. But I'm also going to be honest and say, well, if they, what I believe about believing in those gods and goddesses. Oh. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very interesting, Jay. Well.
Yes.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about this movie?
Watch it. It's good. It's really good. It's enjoyable. Yes. It's quite an adventure.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Jaylo.
Yes.
I can't remember if I said this here, but it's known that I've not seen the Goonies before last night.
And I was really surprised because that's like an 80s classic. And you grew up in Oregon.
Right. And the only thing I really seen Sean Astin in before this movie was he was on this really bad Netflix sitcom called No Good Nick, which felt like it should have been a Nickelodeon show made in like the late 90s. Okay. And it's about this girl who the premise is really interesting, but the execution is awful. Okay. Sean Astin is like this upper middle class guy, and this girl whose family got ruined by him pretends to be their long lost cousin. And starts to live with the family.
Is this supposed to be like a family, kind of a family sitcom?
Yes, but when I read the description of it, I thought it was a dramatic show. Yeah. So I started watching it, and I thought, oh, this is a funny take on it. Let me see. I saw 2 episodes of it, and I'm like, I don't need to watch this.
You are right.
And then I Googled it because I was so fascinated. And it says, Sean Astin, celebrity, talks about his new show. And I'm like thinking, who the hell is Sean Astin?
You don't know who Sean Astin was?
I know who he is now because you told me more about him. Yeah. But I don't really know his work. Besides for that show and now The Goonies. Mm-hmm. Would you like to describe this film?
I will try. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because you have to see it. It's a really fun film. It starts in this house that is famously known as the Goonie House, and which is still around, but somebody lives there now, unfortunately. It's in Astoria, Oregon, and these kids are there. There's Mouth, that's his nickname, who's played by Corey Feldman. There's Chunk, a.k.a. Lawrence.
Chunk is great.
I cannot remember who plays him. He's one of their good friends, and he's the fat kid in the group. There's Mikey, but with Sean Astin. There's Data, who's this Asian kid who's really smart, and he knows about making booby traps. Booby traps.
Booby.
Hey.
Sorry, go ahead.
Booby traps.
I just touched something. Go ahead.
And then Brand, aka Brandon, is Mikey's older brother. And it starts to where the mom comes in, the kids are all gathered, the mom comes in and says, okay, we're going to start packing because the Goondocks is their neighborhood, and all these houses are going to be demolished and made into, like, industrial things.
Could I interrupt you for a second?
What?
I would say this is kind of where we meet all the kids, but it actually starts off with these criminals busting out of prison.
Right, they're the Fratellis.
Yes, but keep going.
Okay. The Fratellis we'll get into later because they are the major villains in this movie. So it starts off with the kids. They're doing their own thing in Mikey's house. The mom comes in with the maid. She speaks Spanish.
This is a great scene with
Corey Feldman mouth says, Mrs. Walsh, I can translate for you. And she told the maid that the marijuana is in here, the heroin is in there. Make sure that you separate the drugs. And he's translating the Spanish stuff, but that's not what the mom was saying.
Yeah, that's what Corey Feldman tells her.
Yeah, and she shows the attic upstairs, and she's like, my husband does not, Mr. Wash does not want anybody to go up there, and he says, if you do a bad job, we'll put you up there for 2 weeks without any food and water. And so she leaves with the maid, and they start going upstairs, and they're in the attic, and they're like looking at these weird outfits, and they're looking at the stuff, and then they find this treasure map. And and Mikey was telling them about what their dad told him about this pirate named One-Eyed Willie and how great this pirate was. And they wanted to see if they could find out more about his treasure and more about One-Eyed Willie. Would you like to chime in, Bubs?
There's some discussion.
Yes.
The younger kids decide to go on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
They tie up
Brand
and leave. The mom comes home and says, you got to get your younger brother.
And is like, Rosalita, can you please let me out of here?
Yes.
Ma.
They had also slashed the tires to his bike, so he ends up stealing this bike from this little
girl. Yeah, he's like, my bike.
There's this funny scene where he's going down the highway, and the car comes by with this evil guy named Troy and these two girls,
Andy and Steph.
So Brand grabs onto like the inside of the car and goes along with them for a while.
I didn't remember.
Get thrown off.
I remember that. And he's like, ah.
Yes. By this time, our young protagonists have met our villains.
The Fratellis. There's Mama Fratelli.
Danny DeVito's mama.
And then there's the two Fratelli brothers. And there's another Fratelli brother that we're gonna meet towards the end. Sloth. They call him Sloth.
Who's my favorite Fratelli.
Not a criminal. And so they go into this really bad restaurant. It's dirty, it's dingy, it's disgusting, and they're like, do you want anything, boys? And they're really, really freaked out because the mom's scary. I bet she looks scary too.
Yes. And
she's like, get him a few waters. And then Mikey, I'm not Mikey, Mouth, being the weird person that he is, he's like, I want some whatever, and the wine of whatever, and he's trying to get that, but the kids are freaked out, and they're like, and then Mikey speaks up and says, excuse me, is there a bathroom? I need to go to the bathroom. It's like, I don't think you want to go into the bathroom. I'm in a place like this. Chunk is warning him. He's like, I don't think you should. And he's like, I really have to go to the bathroom. And he's like, okay, downstairs, first door on the right. On the right.
There's some great stuff in this movie. Some chaos ensues. I know you don't want to give it all.
I don't.
So we'll speed it up a little bit.
Chunk, huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, and there's one scene where Chunk is kidnapped by one of the Fratelli brothers, the singing Fratelli.
Yes.
Because he's like, yeah, there's these guys and there's these villains and they look like blah, 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 blah. And he's thinking at this guy as a police officer. And he starts singing and they kidnap him and he's like, ah! And take him back to that restaurant where they're at. And the mama tries to put his whole entire arm in the blender.
Yes, and he confesses to all the stuff that has nothing to do with the story, but it's awesome. He's eventually tied up with Sloth.
Yes.
He gets Sloth to break out by...
giving him chocolate.
Yes.
Baby Ruth. Yeah.
There's this whole adventure, and at the end of the movie, Chunk says, Sloth, I want you to come and live with me. I love you, Sloth.
And he's like, I love you, Chunk.
That made me laugh so hard.
And then before that happens though, Sloth goes to his mama and is like, remember when I used to sing to you when you were a little boy? And then I think he picks up his mama.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, wait a minute, I may have dropped you once or maybe twice. But he ends up living with Chunk. He's like, you're gonna live with me now because I love you. He's like, I love you, Chunk. Oh, I love you, Sloth. Did they hug each other?
Yes, I think so. I was hard to tell, but I really like that Chunk does this and doesn't even ask his parents if it's okay.
In the meantime, the parents give him a pizza, a slice, a big thing of pizza.
Yes. So I enjoyed this movie a lot. My biggest complaint is that it was dark, so it's a little bit hard for me to tell everything.
You could ask me to put the light on.
No, the light was on. I'm talking about the way most of it was shot in the underground.
Right, okay.
Where do you think Chunk and Sloth are today?
I would still say that they are living in his house, on the Goondocks, eating chocolate every day and watching TV, and Sloth is free to roam around the house. I'm guessing he probably has some disabilities.
Yes.
Because his mother didn't treat him well, and even though he acknowledges that he's still a part of the family, he's not taking part in the stuff with the brothers.
That's a good segue into my next question.
Okay.
What does Sloth teach us about shame?
So, I feel I feel empathy for Sloth because he was chained up in that room, right? Remember when he would say, check on your brother?
Yes.
Go check on your brother, right? She still acknowledges that Sloth is her son and their brother, but she doesn't give him any attention. Like, he doesn't have a lot of physical attention and physical contact with people.
Which goes into the thing of he's hidden away.
Yes, he's hidden away. Even though they acknowledge him, they don't give him any attention. And
do you think that they love Sloth, or do they keep him around because they just don't know what to do with him?
I think they keep him around because they don't know what to do with him. I mean, even though the brother was there and he was singing to him, he didn't really care about Sloth. I don't think so. I think it was just, we gotta go check on Sloth and then we gotta do our stuff.
Why is Sloth disabled? Is it because his mom used to throw him on the ground? Or does he do drugs during the pregnancy? Or was there just some freak accident?
I don't even know if that's really his real name, Sloth, or it was supposed to be Sloth. But I would imagine that it's because she damaged his head. Literally.
Do you think that it's one of those things where she's oppressed it so hard by turning to this life of crime? Or did the life of crime lead her to damaging him?
That's a good question. Maybe she was a criminal before the boys were born. She was doing this for so long that she wanted her boys to be just like her. Except for Sloth. Maybe that's not what she wanted for Sloth. Well, and plus, after he was brain damaged, which I'm guessing he is, that's probably why.
Mm.
Yeah. Poor Sloth.
Yes.
Yes.
What does Chunk teach us about honesty?
A lot. But I don't think he knows what to be honest about and what not to be honest about. But it's pretty funny. Yeah.
We could go on with character analysis, or we
Mm-hmm.
could just say that this is a very interesting film.
I don't think we have to go on with character analysis. I think this is something that, and this is the reason why I didn't give a lot of detail, because it's such a fun movie. It's fun to watch with your family. It's fun to watch by yourself, and I think people would like it.
But you don't necessarily want to go into the psychology behind the Goonies.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. Yeah, because there's so much in it.
Yes, yes.
And it's quite an adventure movie.
Yes.
Yes.
I enjoyed it a lot. I am so glad that I saw this movie. I think I would have liked it a lot as a little kid.
Yeah, I yeah, that was a fun movie to watch as a kid.
Mm.
Yeah, fun.
How old were you when you saw it?
Oh, wow. I mean, I saw it a lot. So I would imagine I was in elementary school. So maybe like, I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I saw it over the years.
Nice.
I was in elementary school.
And it was directed by Richard Donner, who I think did the Die Hard films, but he did another movie that I really enjoyed called Conspiracy Theory, which is a lot different from the Goonies.
Obviously.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But it's one that I think that we should watch at some point. Maybe not right away, but someday soon. Oh,
and then it was I read that they were in the Cyndi Lauper video. The kids.
At one point, they're watching Cyndi Lauper on TV, I believe.
Yes. And the song that she did, I believe, was called "The Goonies Are Good Enough."
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. That's when Cyndi Lauper was super big.
Does watching this film make you feel sad for Corey Feldman?
No.
Okay.
I think a lot of the stuff that he went through, he put it on himself, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he doesn't have. I would imagine that he's trying to do well for himself now. But he did get into quite a lot of trouble with the things that he got in trouble with. But no, I don't think so. It's sad to see that it was the beginning of it. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
But
he's still alive.
Yes.
Yes. So that makes me happy that he's still alive.
Even though he's probably a jerk.
Ooh, I don't know.
He's a weirdo for sure.
But. He's weird, but maybe he's changed. I mean, he's been around for a while. I mean, people can change if they really want to.
I don't know if he'll ever change.
You don't know that,
I could be wrong, babes. I could be wrong. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
No, it's just so good. I think you should watch it.
Very good. Well, I did last night.
Well, not you.
Other
people.
Okay.
Of you.
There we go.
Yes.
Did you have any dreams last night, Jaylo?
I did not, but I slept very well.
Nice.
Until I woke up and I was coughing. But that's okay, though. Nice. That happens.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
I think what we should do, babes, we should make out.
Have a snacky.
And maybe do some wild stuff. And then you read me from...
Wild stuff? Okay.
And you read me from the good book.
Would you stop it? Bubs.
What?
Honestly. Okay. You're so weird.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so I want to kiss you.
Maybe I'll give you that honor.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Okay, that's enough.
All right, Jaylo, unless there's anything else you want to say?
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, even though it's coming out later. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Until next time.
Until next time.